Hi, I'm Steve Baker, the Vice President of the Great Game of Business. At our annual gathering this year, the 26th Annual Conference on Open Book Management, we announced to the world our big, hairy, audacious goal, our BHAG for the Great Game of Business. Our team is inspired to transform 10 million lives in the next 10 years. And the way we're going to do that is by sharing stories in this video series about people's personal transformations by being exposed to the great game of business and open book management. I hope you enjoy this series. Also, click below so that you can watch the original video of Sharon, one of our associates here at SRC Holdings, so you can see what Sharon's story was all about. Enjoy the series.
Welcome to our first episode of the Sharing the Dream series, A Great Game. And I would love for you both to just start with introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your open book management story.
Hi, everybody. My name's Rob Kelsey. This is my wife, Rachel, and we are the owners of King Maintenance Management here in Springfield, Missouri.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. I want to see if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your how you started out with an open book company and what happened within that business.
Yeah. So I started more than 8 years ago now. I started at SRC Electrical and just came in just for a normal job. Didn't know anything about open book management, but started learning the numbers and started going to the classes that they had offered through the Great Game of Business. And just started learning open book management, learning the profit and loss statement, just the basics of business. And that kind of just started a fire within me of just entrepreneurship within SRC. And just through that, I rapidly kind of went through the ranks just because of my knowledge of my rapidly growing knowledge of the numbers and how I could help out my company. And then I had an opportunity to come over to the Great Game of Business. So I, started here on the sales team. We did a lot of awesome work here at the Great Game. I loved every minute of it. When we started going through high involvement planning, Rachel and I took that home. I started teaching my wife just strategic planning, what we were doing at the Great Game of Business, and we started to apply it into our home.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. Rob was coming home and teaching me this terminology and these different things. And so I was starting to absorb that. But not only from Rob, my dad also worked for a sister company of SRC, and he was also learning open book management. So it was basically surrounding us and surrounding everything that we were doing. And so at the time, we were tremendously in debt. We can say that without shame, but we were about $62,000 worth of debt. That was not like good debt. Okay. So that was credit card debt. That was some school loans, but that wasn't necessarily everything. Vehicles and just other things that we had that we were not wise. And it wasn't that we had been, Rob's upbringing, he really didn't have a lot of financial training. I had some. My dad was pretty good about teaching us that, but it wasn't enough to get us to go, oh, we need to be responsible in this. So we made bad decisions that most 20-year-olds make, and found ourselves tremendously in debt. And so we started implementing on Fridays. We implemented huddles. We did huddles every single Friday. And you want to talk a little bit about what we did in our huddles?
Yeah. So in our huddles, through the high involvement planning process, we got to a point in that high involvement planning, which kicked off our huddles, to where we what we wanted for our lives, what we wanted for our family, and what we wanted to do. And because we kind of both had that entrepreneurial spirit, we both loved our jobs. We loved who we worked for, but we just had this ambition to go outside of that, to start our own business. And so we started that process. But to make that process start, we needed to make a game plan to get out of debt so we could make that jump. And so we started those huddles every morning, or every Friday morning. So we started that process, and it took us about a year year and a half to pay down all of that debt. We played mini games and at home, and we sacrificed some things, but it was good for us personally. We just kind of cut the cable cord and all this kind of stuff, and we just focused our money and attention on that. And because we knew we had a plan now. A lot of people of various ages don't have a plan, and so they just kind of float through their finances. But we were very intentional on every dollar that we had. We continued to put towards debt.
And we had a scoreboard. I mean, just like everything that you would do within your company huddles or things that you would have present, we had present at our house. We had a just marker eraser board, real simple. It didn't have to be fancy or anything, but it was our financial feed is what we called it. And so we would have everything from what our balance is to like in our checking account, what our debt balance was. We had everything listed out, and it looked different than what a company scoreboard looks like, but it was still for us. It worked for us. And we put it in the one place that everybody goes to, and that was right above the trash can, because everybody visits trash can every single day in your house. And
Right.
so it was constantly a visual reminder for us of where we were at. And we had to become disciplined in that, because it wasn't like we could update the scoreboard once and be good for the week. It was this constant moving piece. It was almost this alive type situation where every single day or every single morning, noon and night, I was going up and erasing the board and updating what we had going on. And then, during that bill payday, that when you're going and doing your bills, you were over there writing those as well. But every single person in our household knew what was going on. And even guests that came in were like, what is this? And so we got to kind of share our story with, we had a lot of college students who would come to our house. And so we would have opportunities to share with them what it was that we were doing and change their lives by teaching them some of the financial things from there. So our story even started and impacting others even in the midst of our story. So you never know who you're going to impact with your story. You just have to be willing to share it.
Right. I'd like to ask you guys, what did it feel like when you, I'd like to know both ways. What did it feel like when you walked into a company that was allowing you to see the financials, and how did that make you feel? And also, if you want to expand on that in your home life, how did it feel to set a number and to be working toward a goal together?
For me, I really didn't have. Well, I guess it was odd to me because we were in ministry for years before that, and that's not a general practice in churches anyway. So I wasn't in corporate America beforehand, so it wasn't like a huge shock to me. I just thought like, hey, this is really cool that they do this.
Right.
I want to learn everything that I can. I had heard comments before when people would start this, they kind of wouldn't care about it, or they wouldn't think it was real. And it just takes consistency, meeting with the numbers, talking about the numbers, to make people believe that what they're seeing is the correct numbers. And so it wasn't a huge shock to me, but I was excited about it because I loved learning about it.
Right. So you were excited to take it home to your personal finances. And so you said something about playing mini games. So can you share any kind of actual, the process of that and how you guys developed them at home?
One of them was at the beginning that kind of carried on throughout the year was kind of minimalist kind of that first year to really cut down all the expenses. Is what can we cut out? And it was kind of a fun thing, like what else can we cut out of our budget to take that money and then pay down that debt even faster. And then we mixed in a little bit of Dave Ramsey stuff, and so we did a lot of snowballing. We took that payment once we got it paid off and rolled it into the next one, so it just kind of compounded things. And understanding the numbers and how compound interest works, really for me came from Great Game of Business as well. Just learning how numbers operate. You think it's simple addition and subtraction, but once you learn how it works on a profit and loss sheet, you got to you understand it more. Because really, all you're doing when you're working for another company is you're selling your time for a specific price, and so you can have your own profit and loss statement at your house. That's all it is. You're selling your time, which is your personal product. It's how much your time is worth. And so teaching people how to do that and how to budget was important to us, because we never didn't learn that. We were terrible with money, being young and married, and a lot of young and married are really dumb with their money, and because we're just not taught that anymore. So
Right, the education's not there.
so yeah, we taking that home was exciting for us, especially when you get that first major piece of debt paid off.
Mhm.
That's when the excitement really starts going, and you just want to keep going. So it kind of perpetuated more of that. What else can we cut?
Oh yeah, and our critical numbers always change. Our critical number was debt. We wanted to get out of debt. So, that was kind of I guess for lack of a better term, like a negative. It was like that was our negative, but for us, it became a positive because once we saw that number dwindling down, the more excited we got. And like Rob was saying, one of our little mini games was to see how much we could cut out, the minimalist approach. And it was so much fun because we would go up to the board and you would see cable bill, get erased off of there. And here we went from a whole marker eraser board full of bills down to bills about this on our marker eraser board. So that was always fun. And then, we did do rewards and recognition. I mean, it was still something for us within our family we wanted to do, but we made sure that we didn't do something that required money or cash or a credit card or anything like that. We try to do just fun things, whether that was hiking or going and doing something that we normally wouldn't do that didn't cost us a tremendous amount of money, maybe $10 or something, but it wasn't taken out of what we were pouring into our critical number.
Awesome. So I love your story and about how you took open book management and you've applied it to your family. I know I'm interested to learn about how you developed that and that mindset of being your own, being an entrepreneur and pursuing your own business. So I don't know, can you expand a little bit on how you decided to take open book management and use that to where you could open your own business?
Yeah. So, like we said, it took us about 1.5 years to pay off of our debt by applying the Great Game of principles at home. And during that time, Rob had a mentor who really poured into him. And so I'm going to let him share about his mentor.
Yeah. So he was doing open book management, Great Game of business in his own company, and we had met, and we just he was an older gentleman that kind of bought and sold businesses over time. And we just had a good business relationship. I was, help kind of coaching him in his business of what was going on in his business. And so, we just kind of had that really good relationship. And I was just interested in, his experience of buying and selling companies. And I just got to, through the high involvement planning process, we knew we wanted to do something, but I really didn't know what. And it was through this relationship that I had found that to purchase a business. And so I was not the startup kind of guy, and I was really curious on how to do that. So he really helped coach me through that, and he was able to help me, purchase my first one. And it was because of the Great Game of business. He trusted me by helping me finance that first business because he knew I understood the numbers. He knew my confidence in the Great Game. He had confidence in the Great Game on letting the numbers lead you, and so and tell you what's going on in your business. And so that was a key to me getting my first kind of financial loan to purchase. excuse me, my first company, and it's all because of the Great Game. Of understanding the numbers, but also having confidence and knowing what to do with the numbers. And so that was instrumental for me. And we continue to do it in our company, teaching people, mentoring people. That's a big part of, I think that's at the heart of Great Game is helping people and mentoring people and, duplicating of kind of what's kind of, our story and, impacting other people's lives through that.
Yeah, we're not the only story that's out there. When you talk to other people who have practiced the Great Game of business, really stories start coming out of it, and just in that community. And when Rob's mentor really trusted us, he wanted to meet me too, and wanted to know that I was on board with it and everything. And so at that time, we found a 22-year-old commercial cleaning company, had 16 employees when we purchased it. And now we're going into our 5th year, and we have over 60 employees. We service over 45 locations in the Southwest Missouri area, and our numbers are we're a $1.2 million company right now. So 5 years going in, when this business was only worth about 80 grand, here we are, a $1.2 million company 5 years in. So right there shows that the Great Game of Business works, and that it will change lives. And just like the theme, it's money, it's people, it's both. As we're going into the 2019 year, if you were at the gathering, you heard them introduce that. And, it's money, it's people, it's both. It's true. It all has to work together. It's not just one without the other, but it's both of them. So,
and it's the great, teaching my team the Great Game of Business is pivotal into going into our next season of growth for our company, because as the owner and the leader, I need to step out of the day-to-day in the weeds operations, and I need my team to operate through the numbers and through the vision we have for our company, so I can build the next thing for our company to give more opportunities for our employees, our managers, and for us as well. So it's pivotal for people to understand both your vision for the company and the numbers, because those are both big drivers in your company.
So you, do you guys have huddles? I mean, because you have a dispersed employee base, right? So how do you, I know that's one of the top questions about open book management is how do you practice huddles and mini games with kind of a dispersed employee base?
Yeah, that was very challenging at the beginning. And so when I first started my own business, I was the only manager. I was the chef, cook, and bottle washer. So I did a lot with Rachel. We did open book management, Great Game ourselves, and then we are using that in our management staff now. We have a management team that we can meet on a weekly basis. So for a good couple years, we didn't have our base team getting together, because it's typically one person at each site, and so it's rather almost impossible to do that. So what we focused on with them is mini games. And so any company that has a disbursement of employees like this, mini games are a key to having that. So we were able to implement that very quickly into our company. And then when we had a management team where we could meet with on a weekly basis around the numbers, we started to do that.
And this is still something that's growing and molding for us. We're still trying to figure out the best way, which it may not be the best way. I think it's one of those things that as we grow and as we change and as new people come on board, that we have to, because unfortunately with the type of business that we are in, there is high turnover. It's just the nature of the beast when it comes to commercial cleaning and the employees that you have. So it's a constant figuring out and maneuvering of what works best. We've been looking into even some like apps for communication with the whole team. Technology is there at your fingertips, so why not utilize it? And so it's a continual changing thing, and it's okay that it continually changes, because I think it just helps you improve and grow even more.
Awesome. So it's kind of a testing system, right?
Yeah.
Test and adapt, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, you guys did. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us a little bit of background in and around your open book management journey. It's really interesting to hear you guys talk about it, and I hope that I'm sure that our audience is going to enjoy listening to a story that somebody's personally, how it's affected them personally. And I wanted to ask you one last thing before we finish up. I wanted to ask you if you had one piece of advice for somebody looking to implement open book management in their company, what would it be? I didn't prep you for this one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. One thing that I have learned if you're a manager, you're a business owner, general manager, pick what I would do is just, there's a lot of different methodologies out there similar to this one, but by far this is the best one because it's also the original one. Is to focus on it and stick with it. It's fine to add other things in there that you like that works for your company, but don't get away from the base. But just pick one and focus on it. And this is the right one, the great game of business. That would be my biggest piece of advice, because as a business owner, you get inundated with a lot of different methodologies, like similar to this one that has been branched off of Great Game. But what I see a lot of guys do is they start this and then they go, oh, this is nice, this is over here. And they don't implement this completely throughout and just focus on this one thing. They get distracted, and then they get halfway results because they didn't fully implement it.
Right.
Because they get distracted. So it's like, don't get distracted. Just focus on it in its entirety. And because by then you'll be at the end of your year and go, where are we? What are our results? Well, we quit in March because of whatever reason. And because you got reading a different book, you got reading this book or that book, and pick one, pick your system and run with it and implement it 100%.
Yeah. I'm just going to tag on to what Rob said, like he said, get it, stick with it, go with it. But while, you can implement it yourself, I think it's a huge point to consider getting a coach. Having that mentor, that coach walking alongside of you. Like Rob was saying, he has to get out of the business so he can work on the business. Well, yeah, but if you're trying to implement this thing by yourself, then you've got other things that are getting missed. And so to have somebody to walk alongside of you to help coach you and walk you through it, I think is the best thing that you can do for yourself, but then also for the success of Great Game of Business within your company.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you very much. Is there any last comments or anything you would like to add before we end? I really appreciate you taking the time to come and give us your thoughts and how you feel about open book management and Great Game of Business. Anything else you want to add, Rob?
I don't think so. I could go on and on and on about it. So if they're really interested, just have them get a hold of me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll put your phone number out there. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, guys. And again, we'll have this live soon and I'll share it with you.